Disclaimer.
Hell was not full of sinners. It was full of me.
My name is David Michael Carter. I am 47 years old. I died for 11 minutes on December 19th, 2024 in Nashville, Tennessee.
I woke up that morning to the sound of my phone vibrating against the floor. Before I begin, please subscribe so more people can hear testimonies like this. Not ringing, vibrating, because I had silenced it 3 days ago and never turned the sound back on. The apartment smelled like stale beer and something else I could not name. Regret, maybe, or just decay. I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling. There was a water stain in the corner that had been there since I moved in 2 years ago. I told myself I would fix it, but I never did. I told myself a lot of things. The blinds were half open, letting in just enough gray December light to remind me I was still alive. I wish I could say I was grateful, but I was not. I sat up slowly. My head throbbed. My mouth tasted like copper and whiskey. There were bottles everywhere. On the floor, on the nightstand, on the kitchen counter. Whiskey, vodka, something cheap I had bought at a gas station because it was all I could afford. My laptop was still open on the table, the screen dim but glowing. A gambling site. Red numbers at the top. Negative balance. $1,247. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I had nothing else left. My phone buzzed again. I reached down and picked it up. 7 missed calls, 3 voicemails, 12 unread texts. I did not open any of them. I already knew who they were from. My ex-wife, my daughter, my old pastor, people who still believed I could be something I was not anymore. I stood up and walked to the bathroom. The mirror was cracked in the bottom corner. I stared at the man looking back at me and barely recognized him. Gray stubble covered my jaw. My eyes were bloodshot, the whites stained yellow around the edges. Deep lines carved into my face like someone had taken a knife and drawn a map of every bad decision I had ever made. I used to be handsome. At least, that is what people told me. Back when I stood on stages with a guitar in my hands and led thousands of people into the presence of God. Back when my wife looked at me like I was her protector. Back when my daughter thought I hung the moon. That was 8 years ago, before the affair, before the scandal, before I traded my anointing for a bottle and my marriage for a woman whose name I could not even remember anymore. I splashed cold water on my face and told myself the same lie I told myself every morning. Today will be different, but it never was. I grabbed a wrinkled shirt off the floor and pulled it on. It smelled like cigarettes and sweat, but it would do. I had a gig tonight at the Blue Note, a dive bar on the east side, where I played 3 nights a week for $150 a night and free drinks. It was not much, but it was enough to keep me numb. I looked at my phone one more time. A text from my daughter sat at the top of the screen. "Dad, please, just call me. I miss you." I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over her name. Then I locked the phone and shoved it into my pocket. I could not call her. Not like this. Not when I had nothing to offer her but disappointment. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. By 6 that evening, I was standing in the corner of the Blue Note, setting up my gear. A guitar with scratches on the body. A microphone that barely worked. A cheap amp that buzzed whenever I turned it up too loud. The bar was half empty. A few regulars sat at the counter, nursing beers and staring at the football game on the TV. A couple in their 30s sat near the window, holding hands and whispering to each other like they were the only 2 people in the world. A group of college kids crowded around a table in the back, laughing too loud and drinking too fast. I plugged in my guitar and did a quick sound check. The amp buzzed. I turned it down. The bartender, a woman named Sheila with gray hair and tired eyes, nodded at me from behind the counter. She already had my drink ready. Whiskey neat. I walked over and picked it up. The glass was cold in my hand. The whiskey burned going down, but it was a burn I had learned to love. I drank it in 2 swallows and set the glass back on the counter. "Another," I said. Sheila raised an eyebrow, but did not say anything. She poured another glass and slid it toward me. I took it back to the corner and started playing. Cover songs. Songs I used to hate because they had no soul. Songs about love and heartbreak and roads that go on forever. Songs that meant nothing to me. But I played them anyway, because that is what they pay me to do. Between sets, I drank, and I watched. A woman in her late 20s sat at the bar, alone. She had blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail and wore a tight black dress that looked expensive. She kept glancing at me between sips of her wine. I knew that look. The look that said she wanted to feel special for a night. The look that said she thought I could give her something worth remembering. He smiled at her. Not because I wanted her, but because I wanted to feel wanted. She smiled back. I looked away and took another drink. Then I saw him, a young guy, maybe 23 or 24, walking toward me with a nervous energy that reminded me of someone I used to know. He had a cross tattooed on his forearm and wore a faded band t-shirt. His eyes were bright, hungry, searching. He stopped a few feet away from me and hesitated. "Hey man," he said, his voice a little shaky. Are you David Carter?" I set my drink down and looked at him. "Yeah, that is me." His face lit up like I had just told him he won the lottery. "Dude," he stepped closer, his words coming fast now. "I used to follow your ministry back in the day. I was like 16, and my youth pastor showed us one of your worship sessions on YouTube. The one you did in Atlanta. With the whole spontaneous worship thing that went on for like 2 hours. I remember that night. I remembered the way the presence of God had filled the room like a storm. I remembered people weeping, falling to their knees, surrendering everything. I remember the man I used to be. That night changed my life, man," the kid continued. "Like it wrecked me. I gave my life to Jesus right there in my youth group. I have been following him ever since." Something twisted in my chest. Something sharp and painful. "That is good, man," I said, my voice flat. "That is real good." He leaned in closer, his eyes searching mine. "So what happened? Where did you go? I tried to find you online, but everything just stopped. Like you disappeared." I looked down at my glass. Life happened. He waited, like he was expecting more. Like he thought I was going to tell him some inspirational story about how God brought me back. But I did not. "Man," his voice dropped lower. "Are you okay?" I forced a smile. The kind of smile I had learned to wear when I did not want people to see the truth. "Yeah, I am good. Just doing my thing, you know. Playing gigs. Paying bills. Living life." He did not look convinced. "Well, if you ever want to talk, or pray, or anything, I am around. My name is Caleb. I go to a church not far from here. We would love to have you." I nodded. "Yeah, sure. I will keep that in mind." He stood there for another moment, like he wanted to say more. Then he nodded and walked away. I watched him leave, watched him disappear into the crowd, and I ordered another drink. The whiskey went down easier this time. It always did. I played another set. More cover songs. More empty applause. The woman at the bar was still watching me, but I did not smile back this time, because Caleb's words were still echoing in my head. That night changed my life, man. I used to change lives. I used to stand on stages and lead people into the presence of God. I used to pray with young men and watch them encounter Jesus for the first time. Now I could not even save myself. I finished my set and packed up my gear. Sheila handed me an envelope with my cash. "You all right, David?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I am good." She did not believe me either. I walked out into the cold December night and stood on the sidewalk, staring at the cars passing by. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw a text from someone I did not recognize. "House party tonight. East Nashville. You in?" I should have gone home. I should have called my daughter. I should have done a lot of things. But I did not. I texted back. "Yeah, send me the address." By midnight, I was sitting on a couch in a house I did not recognize, surrounded by people whose names I would never remember. The music was loud, so loud I could feel it vibrating in my chest. People were laughing, drinking, dancing. Everyone looked happy, or at least they looked like they were trying to be. I sat in the corner with my phone in one hand and a drink in the other. I opened the gambling app. The screen loaded slowly. My account balance stared back at me. $80. That was it. That was all I had left until my next gig on Friday. I stared at the number for a long time. Then I opened a blackjack table and bet it all. The cards flipped. Dealer had 21. I had 18. I lost. I laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh that made the guy next to me look over. "You good, man?" he asked. I did not answer. I locked my phone and leaned back against the couch. A woman sat down next to me. Blonde hair. Pretty face. eyes glassy from too much wine. "You look sad," she said, her words slurring slightly. I took a sip of my drink. "I'm not sad. I'm just tired." She tilted her head and smiled. "Same thing." She leaned her head on my shoulder. I did not move her, but I felt nothing. No attraction, no connection, no warmth, just emptiness. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a voicemail notification. From my daughter. I hesitated. Then I pressed play and held the phone in my ear. Her voice filled my head, soft and breaking. "Hey, Dad. It is me again. I know you're probably busy, but I just wanted to hear your voice. I miss you. I know you were going through stuff, and I did not want to make it harder, but I love you. Please call me back. Please." Her voice cracked at the end. I closed my eyes. My chest tightened. The woman next to me said something, but I did not hear her. All I could hear was my daughter's voice. "I miss you. I love you. Please." I deleted the voicemail. I had to. Because if I did not, I would call her back. And I could not do that. Not like this. I opened Instagram. I should not have, but I did. And there it was. A photo of my ex-wife. She was smiling, glowing, standing next to a man I did not recognize. He had his arm around her waist. She was leaning into him. The caption read, "Grateful for new beginnings." My stomach dropped. I felt rage. Hot and sharp. Then jealousy. Bitter and choking. Then shame. Heavy and suffocating. I stood up abruptly. The woman next to me said something, but I did not hear her. I pushed past people and stumbled down the hallway. I found a bathroom and locked the door behind me. I turned on the light and stared at my reflection in the mirror. The same cracked, hollow man I had seen that morning. But this time I could not lie to myself. I was not tired. I was dying. Slowly, painfully, by my own hand. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag. Cocaine. I had bought it 2 days ago from a guy I met at a bar. I told myself I would not use it, but I always used it. I poured a line on the counter, then another. My hands were shaking. I stared at the powder and thought about Caleb. That night changed my life, man. I thought about my daughter. "I miss you." I thought about the scroll I used to carry, the one that had my name written on it in gold. Called, chosen, anointed. I thought about the man I used to be. The man who stood on stages and led people into the presence of God. The man who prayed with young men and watched them weep as they encountered Jesus for the first time. The man who had a family, a purpose, a future. I stared at my reflection one more time, and then I leaned down, and I made my choice. An hour later, I was back on the couch. The woman was gone. The music was still pounding. My heart was pounding too, but something was wrong. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing it from the inside. I tried to take a deep breath, but I could not. I tried to stand, but my legs would not move. The room started spinning. I tried to call out, but no sound came. Someone screamed my name. I felt hands on my shoulders, shaking me hard, but I could not respond. Everything was moving in slow motion now. Faces, voices, lights, all of it blurring together. And then silence. Heavy, final. I was floating. I looked down and saw my body on the couch. People were crowding around me. Someone was crying. Someone was on the phone, shouting. Someone was doing chest compressions. But I could not feel it. I was above it all now, watching, detached. And then I felt it. A pull, not upward, downward. A dim light opened beneath me. And I began to fall, not toward heaven, toward something else. Something I had spent my entire life running from. I was falling, not slowly, fast. Like gravity had doubled and was dragging me down into something I could not see. The air around me was cold, too cold, and thick. I tried to breathe through water. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to reach for something, anything, but there was nothing to grab. Just darkness. And then I stopped. The impact was sudden, hard. I hit solid ground, and the breath exploded out of my lungs. I gasped, trying to pull air back in, but it felt wrong. Heavy. Like the air itself had weight. I opened my eyes. I was on my knees. The floor beneath me was cold stone. Smooth. Dark. Almost black. I pressed my palms flat against it and felt the coldness seep into my skin. I looked up slowly. I was in a hall. Massive. The walls stretched up, so high I could not see the ceiling. They were made of dark stone, carved with symbols I did not recognize. No windows, no doors, just walls that seemed to go on forever. The only light came from beneath me. I looked down. The floor was not solid. It was glass, thick, dark glass. And beneath the glass, fire, not raging, not roaring, just glowing, steady, patient, waiting. The flames moved slowly, like they were alive, like they were breathing. I jerked my hands off the floor and stumbled to my feet. My footsteps echoed, loud, too loud. I turned in a circle, trying to find a way out. But there was nothing, just a hall, just a fire beneath the glass. And then I saw it, in the center of the room. A desk, tall, carved from something that looked like burnt wood. It stood alone, perfectly centered, like it had always been there. On top of it sat a single scroll, already unrolled. I took a step toward it, then another. My legs felt heavy, like I was walking through something thicker than air. The smell hit me then. Smoke, old parchment, and something else. Something I could not name. It smelled like endings. I stopped a few feet from the desk. The scroll was glowing. Faint, but unmistakable. Golden light pulsed from the edges of the parchment. And then I felt it. A presence. Behind the desk. I could not see anyone, but I knew. Someone was there. Watching. Waiting. My chest tightened. I opened my mouth to speak, but my throat was dry. No words came out. The presence did not move. Did not speak. But I felt its weight. Heavy. Undeniable. Holy. I took another step forward. The scroll glowed brighter. And then I saw it. My name. Written at the top in perfect, flowing script. David Michael Carter. I stared at it. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The scroll began to move. Not by wind. Not by hand. It unrolled itself, slowly, deliberately. And beneath my name dates. December 2017. December 2018. December 2019. December 2020. December 2021. December 2022. December 2023. December 2024. Each date glowed as it appeared. And beneath each date scenes, moving images. Like I was watching a film projected onto the scroll itself. I saw myself. At bars. In beds with women whose faces I barely remembered. Sitting alone in my apartment. Drinking until I passed out. Gambling on my phone at 3 in the morning. Ignoring phone calls. Deleting voicemails. But then I saw something else. Moments I had forgotten. Moments I had ignored. December 2019. My daughter sent me a video of her singing at a Christmas concert. I watched myself open a message, watch 5 seconds of it, then close it and go back to scrolling. December 2020. A young man messaged me on Instagram, asking if I would mentor him. I read the message. I typed a reply. Then I deleted it and never responded. December 2021. My ex-wife sent me a text. Can we talk? I think we need closure. I stare at my phone for 10 minutes. Then I blocked her number. December 2022. My pastor called me 6 times in 1 week. I never answered. December 2023. My mother left me a voicemail, crying, begging me to come to church on Christmas Eve. I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. December 2024. Caleb, the young man at the bar. I saw him ask me if I was okay. I saw myself lie. I saw him walk away, shoulders slumped, disappointed. The scroll kept moving, showing me everything. Not just what I did, but what I refused to do. The people I ignored. The calls I did not return. The moments I was supposed to be present for. The opportunities one threw away. And then the voice spoke. It came from behind the desk. Calm, clear, but heavy. So heavy it felt like the air itself was bending under the weight of it. Every December, I gave you a choice. I froze. The scroll stopped moving. The images faded, and new ones appeared. December 2017. My daughter's face on a video call, asking me to come home for Christmas. I saw myself shake my head and say I was too busy. Then I saw her later that night, sitting alone in her room, crying. December 2018. A young man, Tyler, reaching out to me, asking if I could pray with him. He said he was struggling. He said he needed help. I saw myself read the message and scroll past it. 2 months later, Tyler overdosed. I did not even know until I saw it now. December 2019. My ex-wife sitting at a coffee shop, waiting for me. I had agreed to meet her, but I did not show up. She waited for an hour. Then she left, and I saw her cry in her car. December 2020. A recovery center invited me to lead worship for their Christmas service. I ignored the email. I saw the room later that night. Empty seats. A handful of people struggling, hoping for something to hold on to. No one led worship. December 2021. My pastor called. I saw him sitting in his office, phone to his ear, praying out loud that I would answer. I never did. December 2022. A woman at a bar told me she was thinking about ending her life. She gave me her number. She asked me to check on her. I said I would. I never called. I saw her 3 weeks later, in a hospital bed, bandages on her wrists. December 2023. My mother, kneeling at the altar on Christmas Eve, praying for me, weeping, begging God to bring me back. I was at a party, drunk, laughing, pretending I was fine. December 2024. Caleb, the young man who told me I changed his life. I saw him walk away from me at the bar. And I saw him later that night, sitting in his car, head in his hands, wondering if he had done something wrong. Wondering why the man who once led him to Jesus could not even look him in the eye. The voice spoke again. December was not a season of celebration for you, David. It was a season of testing. And every year, you chose yourself. I felt my knees. The glass floor was cold beneath me. The fire underneath glowed brighter. I could feel the heat now, rising, pressing against my skin. I tried to speak, but my throat was closed. I did not. You did. The voice was firm now. Not angry, but final. You knew, and you chose not to care. A second object appeared on the desk. A book, thick, bound in dark leather. My name was embossed on the cover in gold. The presence spoke again. Open it. I stood slowly, legs shaking. I stepped forward and reached for the book. My hands were trembling. I opened it. Inside names, hundreds of names, written in perfect script. I did not recognize most of them, but then I saw it. At the top of the first page, Tyler Brennan. Beneath his name, a date. The date he died. And beneath that, a single line. He called for you. You did not answer. My stomach dropped. I flipped the page. More names. Some crossed out in red ink. Others still unmarked. The presence spoke. These are the ones you were supposed to reach. The ones I gave you the gift to save. Some are lost now, because you chose comfort over calling. I saw Caleb's name. Still unmarked. Still alive. Still reachable. But then I saw another name. A young woman. Jessica Monroe. The woman from the bar in December 2022. The one who told me she wanted to die. Her name was crossed out in red. Beneath it, she waited for your call. It never came. She is with me now, but she suffered because you were silent. I dropped the book. It hit the glass floor with a loud crack. Tears were streaming down my face now. I could not stop them. I did not know. You did. The voice was not shouting, but cut deeper than any scream ever could. You knew, David. You just did not care enough to act. I cover my face with my hands. I cannot breathe. I cannot think. All I could see were the names. The faces. Tyler. Jessica. Caleb. My daughter. My ex-wife. My mother. All of them. Waiting for me. Hoping for me. Needing me. And I had chosen myself every single time. The presence spoke one more time. And this time, the voice was not just firm. It was final. You were given much, David, and you buried it for pleasure. Now you will see what that choice cost. The glass floor beneath me began to glow. Brighter. Hotter. The fire underneath was no longer still. It was moving. Swirling. I looked down, and I saw them. Shapes in the flames. Not demons. People. Human figures. Moving slowly. Reaching upward, but never breaking through. I fell to my hands and knees and stared closer. The shapes became clearer. A man holding a guitar, but the strings were broken. A woman holding a microphone, but no sound came out. A teacher standing in front of an empty classroom. A preacher at an empty pulpit. An artist holding a blank canvas. A father reaching for children who were not there. And then I saw him. Tyler, the young man whose name was crossed out in red. He was standing in the flames, staring up at me. His mouth was moving, but I could not hear him. I pressed my hands against the glass. Tyler, I am sorry. I am so sorry. But he could not hear me. The flames pulled it back down, and he disappeared. I looked around, frantic now, and I saw more. Jessica, the woman from the bar. She was sitting in a fire, arms wrapped around her knees, rocking back and forth. Her face was empty. Hello. I tried to scream her name, but my voice would not come. The presence spoke. These are not the wicked, David. These are the gifted, the anointed, the called. They were given much, and they buried it. They chose comfort. They chose pleasure. They chose themselves. And now they are here. Not because I wanted them here, but because they chose waste over worth. I shook my head, tears pouring down my face. No, this cannot be. It is. The flames swirled again, and I saw someone else. Someone I recognized immediately. It was me, not my body, but a version of me, the man I was supposed to be. He was standing tall, strong, glowing with light. He was holding a scroll in one hand and a guitar in the other. Behind him stood dozens of young men, all of them looking at him with hope, with gratitude, with life. But then the flames wrapped around him, and he began to fade. His light dimmed. The young men behind him started to disappear, and the version of me that could have been burned away. The presence spoke again. That was who you were meant to become. That was the man I created you to be. But you buried him. You chose pleasure over purpose. And now he is gone. I collapsed onto the glass, sobbing. I could not stop. I could not breathe. I did not know. I did not know it would cost this much. You did. The voice was quiet now, almost sad. You always knew. You just did not want to believe it. The scroll appeared again, hovering in the air in front of me. It unrolled one more time, and this time I saw her. My ex-wife. Not the Instagram photo. Not the version of her I had been jealous of. The real her. I saw her kneeling beside her bed at 2 a.m., praying. Praying for me. While I was in a stranger's bed, I saw her sitting in the kitchen, staring at her phone, wondering if she should call me. I saw her explain to our daughter why Daddy was not coming home for Christmas. I saw her sitting alone in church on Christmas Eve, tears streaming down her face, asking God to save me. I saw her delete my number after 3 years of unanswered prayers. And I saw her finally let me go. The presence spoke. She prayed for you every December, David. Every single December. And every single December, you chose someone else. The scroll shifted again. This time, my daughter. I saw her at 16, writing me a letter. A letter I never read because I deleted the email without opening it. I saw her at 18, graduating high school. She looked into the crowd, searching for me. I was not there. I saw her at 21, getting baptized. She asked the pastor if he could invite me. He tried. I never responded. I saw her at 24, sitting in her apartment on Christmas, staring at my contact in her phone. Her thumb hovered over my name. She wanted to call me. She was too afraid I would not answer. So she did not. And I saw her cry herself to sleep. The presence spoke one final time. She still loves you, David. But you have been dead to her for years. I broke. Completely. I fell forward, my forehead pressed against the glass, my body shaking with sobs. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean. I did not. You did. The voice was closer now, surrounding me, filling the room. You knew what you were doing. You knew who you were hurting. You just did not care enough to stop. I cannot argue, because it was true. Every word. I had known. I had always known. I just chose to ignore it. The presence moved closer. I could not see it, but I felt it, like a weight pressing down on my chest. And then it spoke. 3 sentences. Short, clear, final. You were given much, David. And you buried it for comfort. I nodded, trembling. December was your test. Every year you failed it. I closed my eyes. This is your last chance. Choose now. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. The fire beneath the glass dimmed slightly. The scroll rolled back up and disappeared. The book closed, and I was left alone, on my knees, in the middle of the courtroom, broken. The presence spoke one more time. You have seen the truth. You have seen the cost. Now you must choose. I looked up. If you return, you will not return unchanged. You will carry the weight of what you have seen. You will have one final December to prove you have learned. I nodded, tears still streaming. If you stay, You will join those beneath the glass. Gifted, anointed, wasted. I looked down at the fire. I saw Tyler again. I saw Jessica. I saw the man I could have been. I saw the names in the book. And I saw Caleb. Still alive. Still reachable. Still waiting. I whispered through my tears. Please. Send me back. The presence was silent for a moment. Then it spoke. Then go. And do not waste what I give you again. A sharp pain exploded in my chest. White hot. Burning. The courtroom vanished. The fire disappeared. The scroll, the book, the desk, all of it gone. And everything went white. I gasped. Hard. Violent. Like I had been underwater for hours, and my lungs were screaming for air. Pain exploded in my chest. Sharp. Burning. Like someone had reached inside me and set my ribs on fire. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Just a choked, desperate wheeze. My eyes flew open. Blurred shapes. Lights flashing. Red. Blue. White. Voices shouting. He's back. We got a pulse. Stay with us, David. Hands pressed down on my chest. Something cold covered my face. An oxygen mask. I tried to move, but my body would not respond. Everything felt heavy. Too heavy. I blinked, trying to focus. A face came into view. A paramedic. Young. Maybe 30. He was looking down at me, relief flooding his eyes. You're okay, he said, his voice firm but kind. You're okay. Just breathe. In and out. Slow. I tried, but my lungs felt like they were full of glass. Every breath hurt. The sirens were deafening now. I turned my head slightly and saw people standing around me. Strangers. Some crying. Some on their phones. Some just staring. I was still on the couch. The same couch I had collapsed on. But now there were needles in my arm. Wires attached to my chest. A stretcher beside me. We're taking you to the hospital, the paramedic said. You coded twice on us already. We're not losing you again. I wanted to say something. To tell him what I had seen. The courtroom. The scroll. The fire. The names. But I could not speak. All I could do was cry. Tears poured down my face, hot and unstoppable. The paramedic squeezed my shoulder. You're going to be all right. But I knew the truth. I was not all right. I had seen what I was becoming, and I could never go back to who I was before. 3 days later, I woke up in a hospital bed. The room was quiet, just the steady beep of the heart monitor beside me, and 4 was taped to my left arm. An oxygen tube sat under my nose. I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them. 12 across, 8 down. I had been doing that for the past hour. Counting, because if I stopped counting, I would have to think. And if I started thinking, I would see it all again. The scroll, the fire, Tyler's face, Jessica's name crossed out in red, my daughter crying alone on Christmas, the man I could have been burning away. A nurse walked in, clipboard in hand. She smiled when she saw I was awake. Good morning, Mr. Carter. How are you feeling? I did not answer right away. How was I feeling? Broken, grateful, terrified, ashamed, alive, tired, I finally said. She nodded and checked the monitors. You gave everyone quite a scare. Your heart stopped twice. Once at the scene, once in the ambulance. The doctors are calling it a miracle. A miracle. I almost laughed. But it was not funny. It was a warning. You were gone for 11 minutes total, she continued. Most people don't come back from that. And if they do, they usually have brain damage. But you're fine. Physically, at least. She looked at me closely. Do you remember anything? People who go through something like this sometimes have experiences. I could tell her. I could tell her about the courtroom, about the presence, about the scroll with my name on it, about the book full of names I was supposed to reach, about the fire beneath the glass where gifted people wasted away. But I did not. Not yet. I remember, I said quietly. She nodded like she understood. Well, you rest. The doctor will be in soon. She left, and I was alone again. I closed my eyes and whispered the first real prayer I had prayed in 8 years. God, I will not waste this. I promise. I will not waste this. A few hours later, a doctor came in. He was older, gray hair, kind eyes. He asked me questions. How I was feeling. If I had chest pain. If I remembered what happened. I answered everything. And then he asked the question I had been dreading. Is there anyone we should call? Family? Friends? I hesitated. My ex-wife had remarried. My mother probably thought I was already dead. My friends, I did not have any real friends anymore. But there was one person I had been running from for years. My daughter, I said, my voice cracking. Can I have my phone? The doctor nodded and handed it to me from the small table beside the bed. I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. I scrolled through my contacts until I found her name. Sweetheart Yellowheart. I had not changed it in 8 years. Even after I stopped calling. Even after I stopped answering. I just could not bring myself to delete it. My thumb hovered over her name. What if she does not answer? What if she hangs up? What if she tells me she never wants to hear from me again? I would not blame her. But then I remembered the courtroom. I remembered seeing her sitting alone in her apartment on Christmas, staring at my contact, too afraid to call. I remembered the voice. She still loves you, but you have been dead to her for years. I pressed call. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I almost hung up. Then I heard it. Her voice. Cautious. Uncertain. Dad. I broke. Completely. Tears poured down my face. I tried to speak, but the words would not come. Dad? Are you okay? I took a shaky breath. Baby, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Silence. Then I heard it. A small choked sob. Dad, where have you been? Her voice was breaking, and it shattered me. I've been lost, I said, my voice trembling. I have been so lost, and I know I do not deserve your forgiveness. I know I have hurt you. I know I have been a terrible father, but I need you to know I love you. I have always loved you, and I am so sorry. More silence. I could hear her breathing, shaky, uneven. Then softly she spoke. I love you too, Dad. I closed my eyes and let the tears fall. She did not say she forgave me. Not yet, but she said she loved me. And for the first time in 8 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could still become the father she deserved. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. The doctor gave me a list of instructions. No alcohol, no drugs, no stress. Follow up in 2 weeks. I nodded and signed the paperwork. But I knew the real recovery was not going to happen in a doctor's office. I took a cab back to my apartment. When I walked in, I stopped in the doorway. The place looked exactly the same as it had the night I died. Bottles everywhere. Pizza boxes stacked on the counter. My laptop still open on the table. The gambling site still glowing on the screen. But this time, I saw it differently. It was not just messy. It was a tomb. A place where I had been burying myself alive for 8 years. I set my bag down and stood there for a long time. Then I started moving. I grabbed a trash bag from under the sink and started throwing things away. Every bottle, every can, every reminder of the man I had been. I worked for hours, throwing away, cleaning, scrubbing. By the time I was done, the apartment was empty. Bora, but clean. I sat on the floor, exhausted, surrounded by trash bags. And for the first time in years, I felt clear. I reached for my phone and opened it. I deleted every gambling app, every dating app, every contact tied to my old life. Women I had used, dealers I had known, friends who only called when they wanted something. All of them, gone. Then I saw it. My Bible, sitting on the shelf in the corner, covered in dust. I had not touched it in nearly a decade. I stood up and walked over to it. I picked it up and wiped the dust off the cover. The leather was cracked. The pages were worn. I opened it. I did not know where to start, so I just flipped through until something stopped me. Ezekiel 37. The Valley of Dry Bones. I read the words slowly. Son of man, can these bones live? I stared at the page, and I whispered, yes, they can. The next morning, I woke up early. I made coffee. I sat at the table. And I thought about Caleb, the young man at the bar who told me I had changed his life. The one I had brushed off. The one whose name was still unmarked in the book. I pulled out my phone and searched for him on social media. It took a few minutes, but I found him. Caleb Matthews, 23 years old. His profile picture was him at a church retreat, smiling, arms around a group of other young guys. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed a message. Hey, Caleb, this is David Carter. I know I brushed you off at the bar. I was not okay, but I want to be. Can we meet? I owe you an explanation and an apology. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. Then I waited. Hours passed. I cleaned the apartment again. I made lunch. I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. And then, finally, a notification. A reply from Caleb. Yeah, man. I'd like that. Coffee tomorrow? I smiled. A real smile. The first one in years. Yeah, tomorrow. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I got there early and sat in the corner, nursing a black coffee. When Caleb walked in, he saw me immediately. He smiled and walked over. Hey, David. Hey, Caleb. He sat down across from me. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then I took a deep breath. I need to tell you the truth, I said, about where I have been, about what happened to me. He nodded, listening. I told him everything, not the full near-death experience, not the courtroom or the fire, but the truth about my life. The affair, the scandal, the drinking, the drugs, the years of running, the shame, the waste. I told him how I had been given a gift, a calling, an anointing, and I had buried it. I told him how I had seen him at the bar and lied to his face, how I had been too ashamed to admit I was drowning. Caleb listened without interrupting. When I finished, I looked down at my coffee. I am sorry, I said. You told me I changed your life, and I should have been honored. But instead, I ran, because I did not want you to see who I had become. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he leaned forward. Man, he said softly, I've been praying for you since that night. I looked up. I did not know what happened to you, he continued. But I knew God was not done with you. I could feel it. So I just kept praying. My throat tightened. Thank you, I whispered. He smiled. Can I pray with you now? I nodded. We bowed our heads right there in the coffee shop. And Caleb prayed. Not a long prayer, not a fancy prayer, just a simple, honest prayer. God, thank you for bringing David back. Thank you for not giving up on him. Help him find his way home. Heal his heart. Restore his gifts. And use him again. In Jesus' name. Amen. I cannot speak. I just cried. And for the first time in 8 years, I felt it. The presence of God. Not in a courtroom. Not in judgment. But in grace. It was December 24th. Christmas Eve. I stood outside the church I used to attend. The same church I had walked away from 8 years ago. My hand was shaking. I almost turned around. Almost got back in my car and drove away. But then I remembered. The courtroom. The scroll. My mother kneeling at the altar, praying for me while I was at a party, drunk and laughing. I took a deep breath, and I walked in. The service had already started. Soft worship music filled the room. People were standing, hands raised, singing. I slipped into the back row and sat down. I did not sing. I just listened. And then I saw her, my mother, sitting in the third row, the same spot she had always sat. I watched her for a moment. Her head was bowed. Her hands were folded. She was praying. And then, as if she felt me watching, she turned around. Our eyes met. Her face went still. Then it broke. She stood up, pushing past people in the row. She rushed toward me. I stood, and she threw her arms around me. She did not say anything. She just held me. And I wept in my mother's arms like a child. I'm sorry, Mama, you whispered. I am so sorry. She pulled back and looked at me, tears streaming down her face. You are here, she said, her voice shaking. That is all that matters. You are here. After the service, I sat with my mother in the parking lot. We talked for over an hour. I told her everything. About the overdose. About dying. About what I saw. She listened, holding my hand the entire time. When I finished, she looked at me with eyes full of love. God is not done with you, baby, she said. He brought you back for a reason. I nodded. I know. She squeezed my hand. Then do not waste it. The weeks after that were not easy. I did not suddenly become perfect. I still struggled. I still had days where the weight of what I had seen crushed me. Days where I wanted to give up. But I did not. I started small. I reached out to my old pastor and asked if I could volunteer. He said yes. I started helping with the recovery ministry, leading small groups for men struggling with addiction. I played guitar again, not on big stages, not in front of thousands, but in small rooms with broken men who needed hope. And slowly, I started to heal. One Sunday, after leading worship at a recovery center, a young man approached me. He was maybe 25, tattoos up and down his arms, scars on his knuckles. Hey man, he said, I just want to say thank you. I was about to give up, but what you shared tonight, it saved my life. I looked at him, and I saw Tyler. I saw Jessica. I saw all the names in the book. And I knew this was why I was brought back. Not for me, for them. A few months later, I was sitting in my apartment when I got a message on social media from someone I did not recognize. EW, my name is Marcus. I heard your testimony at the recovery center last month. I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. I have been clean for 45 days now. Your story gave me hope. I stared at the message. Then I replied, Marcus, I am so proud of you. Keep going. You are worth fighting for. Then another message came from a woman named Sarah. David, I do not know if you remember me. I was at your church years ago. I heard you came back. I just want you to know that I prayed for you every day. I'm so glad you are home. Then another, and another. People reaching out. People sharing their stories. People thanking me for being honest, for being real, for not pretending I had it all together. And I realized something. My brokenness was not a disqualification. It was my testimony. The very thing I've been ashamed of was the thing God was using to reach people. I started a small group in my apartment. Just 5 guys at first. Men like me. Men who had gifts. Men who had wasted them. Men who were trying to find their way back. We met every Thursday night. We prayed. We confessed. We held each other accountable. And we grew. One of those men was named Jerome. He was a musician who had walked away from ministry after a divorce. He told me one night, crying, I do not think God wants me anymore. I looked him in the eye. That is a lie, I said. God does not waste broken things. He redeems them. Jerome went back to playing worship music. Another man, Anthony, was a teacher who had lost his job because of alcohol. He got sober, got his teaching license reinstated, and now he mentors at-risk kids. Another man, Kevin, had been a youth pastor before gambling destroyed his life. He joined our group broken and hopeless. 6 months later, he was leading a youth group again. Watching these men heal, watching them rise, it gave me life. It reminded me why I was still here. I had dinner with my daughter once a month now. At first, it was awkward. She did not trust me yet. I did not blame her. But I showed up. Every time. I did not cancel. I did not make excuses. I just showed up. And, slowly, she started to soften. One night, over Italian food, she looked at me and said, Dad, I am proud of you. I stopped chewing. What? She smiled, tears in her eyes. I'm proud of you. For fighting. For coming back. For not giving up. I reached across the table and held her hand. I'm proud of you too, baby. For giving me a chance. She squeezed my hand. You are my dad. I will always give you a chance. A year after I died, I was sitting in my apartment on December 19th. I stared at the calendar on the wall. 1 year. 1 year since I overdosed. 1 year since I died for 11 minutes. 1 year since I saw the courtroom. I looked around my apartment. It was small, simple, but it was clean, and it was mine. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. Love you, Dad. Proud of you. I smiled. Then I stood and walked to the mirror. I looked at the man staring back at me. He was not the same man who died a year ago. He was older, wiser, humbler, healed, not perfect, but present. I thought about the scroll, the names, the fire beneath the glass, the voice that said, this is your last chance. Choose now. I had chosen. Every day since then, I had chosen. And I would keep choosing, because I had been given something most people never get. A second chance, and I was not going to waste it. I looked at the camera, at you watching this, and I said what I needed to say, what I've been burning to say since the moment I came back. I do not know where you are in life right now. I do not know what you are running from, or what you are hiding, or what gifts you have buried because you're too ashamed or too afraid or too tired to use them. But I need you to hear this. Pleasure will never fulfill what only purpose can satisfy. I died for 11 minutes, and I learned that hell is not just for the wicked. It is for the gifted who chose waste over worth. Do not wait until you are standing in that courtroom. Do not wait until you see the scroll with your name on it and all the people you were supposed to reach. Do not wait until it is too late. Choose now. Choose purpose. Choose calling. Choose life before December comes and you realize you've been dying all along. I took a breath. And I ended with the only truth that mattered. Pleasure will never fulfill what only purpose can satisfy. If you're still here, thank you. Please subscribe if you want more testimonies like this. Turn on notifications and watch the next testimony on your screen. You never know which story might save your life.